G'day guys, you're back with Miracle Max. Today I'd like to share with you a case study that happened at the college where I work part-time. Now a student happened to be working on a vehicle, then afterwards for some reason the battery went dead flat. What caused it? I'll explain. This VT Commodore behind me is one of the workshop vehicles used here at the college. The last unit that I did with the apprentices was repair and diagnose charging systems. So I got one of the students to pull off the alternator off this VT, put it on the bench, disassemble it, put it back together, put it onto the vehicle, and after that we seemed to have problems. What did he do wrong? What's the problem now? While working nearby, one of the other students noticed that the alternator regulator was very hot to the touch. Very, very hot. Whoa! And I confirmed that. So I got one of the students to remove the negative side of the battery so that the battery wouldn't go flat. I knew something was amiss here. And in actual fact, have a look at this. It actually almost welds it to the post there. It's a big blue spark. Check that out. There's a lot of current draw there. When I have a current clamp on there, it's drawing about 100 odd amps. This thing is ready to fry. In several other videos, I've shown you guys how to do a voltage drop test. In this case, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but just show you the actual results in a physical way so that you can actually see it. Now, I have in front of me an incandescent test light and a clampy thing that goes onto whatever terminal you want. Now, of course, we would expect if we go from the negative side of the battery to the positive side, we're going to have a light that comes on, aren't we? But watch this. This is really, really cool. Negative side of the chassis, so this goes off to our chassis or our engine, etc. Negative side of the post, just check this out. How cool is that? Okay, so we can understand why we have like a dead short in the battery, simply because this here is now positive as well. We've got a positive connecting to an earth somewhere, and we need to find out where that is. But hey, that is super, super cool. Showed the apprentices the other day and it blew their mind. Keep in mind that this battery's fairly flat. We're only looking at, what's that, 11.5 volts. It's not very happy and it certainly won't start the car. So what did he do wrong? First thing we need to do is establish where this current draw is coming from. Now, considering that he worked on the alternator last, let's focus on that area first. So obviously we need to check his work. Now this sort of thing looks a bit dicky, etc., and it's a little bit loose. So let's just pull that back and have a look at it. Now this is our main battery terminal, the power supply that goes off to charge our battery. So this should be live at all times. There should be power to it at all times, which is fine. But let's have a closer look. Let's see if we can get rid of that current draw that's causing the issue. Okay, to try and isolate this fault, I'm going to remove the positive battery cable, this fella here, going onto the back of my alternator. Some of you observant people might have guessed what the fault is already, but I'll just remove this. I've only put it on loose for filming purposes. We'll just take that fella off, and now we'll see if we've got rid of that current draw at the battery. Now with our incandescent light, we can do the same test that we did before. Of course, we go from negative to positive. That light should come on, and yes, it does. Let's go to that negative lead and see what happens. Hello, it's gone out. What's the reason behind it? What did the apprentice forget? Perhaps you've come across this before. You may have noticed that he's left off the insulating washer that goes between the alternator body here and the battery post. So obviously we've got a dead short between the post itself and the body. While not ideal, I'm going to use some fibre washers just to insulate it from the post to the body of the alternator. Now, I've searched high and low, I've looked under the vehicle, I've looked in the valley cover, I've looked in the boot of the vehicle, wherever he may have put it. He's probably dropped it and then it's been kicked somewhere, then it's been swept up by the cleaners and taken away. So this is the best that I can find for the moment. But I think it'll do the job. So let's put that back together with those insulators in place with that terminal, and that should stop our dead short to the battery. Okay, our main cable that goes from the alternator to the battery is now well insulated from the body of the alternator. Does that solve the issue? Well, we no longer have that big blue spark there, do we? So there's no excessive current draw. Excellent news. What's the next step? Keep in mind when this had an issue, this regulator, even though the ignition was turned off, no key in the ignition, it was scorching hot. Oh, not even marshmallow toasty warm. It's all nice and cold, mate. Let's see if she actually fires up. And with a little help from a friend over there, let's see if it starts. And considering that it runs on about 4 cylinders, that's great to see. Notice that the battery light's still on. Why could that be? It's quite possible that the alternator regulator has failed. Putting all that amperage through the circuit may have damaged the electronics built inside. Obviously the brushes are okay because they're going through the rotor back to the light, otherwise the light wouldn't come on. But maybe the charging side of the regulator has been damaged beyond repair. So to isolate the fault, we've had to do some further testing. I got one of the other apprentices to do some checks this week, and she was able to isolate the fault after doing some basic diagnosis. So what did she do? As you can see, the alternator has been removed, so that's a bit of a heads up as to what we found. Keep in mind that this is only a basic style of alternator. It's not a smart charging system where the ECU controls the field circuit. In this particular case, we have 2 wires in the back of the regulator. One will be a power at all times, which will be called a sense wire. The other will be our warning lamp. Let's just check and see if we've got power at those wires. I've got an incandescent test light here, and I'm just going to check and make sure that it's in working condition. I'm on the negative side with my clamp, and yes, in fact, we have a nice little light here. So let's check these wires at my regulator terminal. So the 2 wires are power at all times, as you can see, and this one here is with the ignition turned on. It's a warning lamp, so this will be quite dull because we've got a light there. It's like 2 lights in series. I want to see if I can put that warning lamp out on the dash. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Keep in mind when the warning light comes on the dash, it's because power is fed through the warning lamp down through here into the regulator down to ground. That of course completes the circuit and illuminates our light. To put the light out, what happens is the alternator produces enough voltage to shoot it back up this wire, and of course if we've got positive from here, positive from the lamp itself, then the 2 positives just cancel one another out. It'll be something like this. We have power going through our warning lamp down to the field circuit, through the regulator, down to ground. The light comes on. But what happens if I feed power back that way into the globe? It's no different from going like that. And of course, the light goes out. There's no light there whatsoever. Let's feed some power back up that wire to the warning light and see if that turns it off. So what I've got is a jumper wire, a fused jumper wire going from my battery negative ground through to my warning lamp wire. So when I earth it out, what are we going to get on the dash? Let's go and have a look. There you go, there's our battery light. It's coming on simply because of the fact that we have earthed the circuit, and that globe now has a power as well as a ground. And opposite to that, if I put battery positive to that particular wire going back to my warning lamp, my battery light, what will we see? Keep in mind that that's what the alternator does. Once the alternator starts to charge, it puts voltage back that way, and of course the 2 positives cancel one another out and the light goes out. And now there's no battery light. The battery light has been put out because we've got it on the positive side of the circuit, just like as if the alternator was charging. As you can see, we're going to do some bench testing on the alternator now that it's been removed off the vehicle. A quick shout out to Erica, who was the apprentice that did the diagnosis. She did a great job diagnosing it, and hopefully she learnt something along the way. Firstly, we've checked our rotor and made sure that that's in good condition. It tested okay. Next, we checked the stator and made sure that that was okay. No shorts there, no problems. We're now heading to our rectifier pack, which is made up of a series of diodes. Over this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 positive diodes. Over this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 negative diodes. You can see it's split down through the middle there, can't you? Positive and negative. And testing is really not that hard. You can see that there's a little positive terminal here that's used for radio suppression. So we're going to hook onto that with our alligator clip just to make testing easier. As you can see, I've got the diode setting here on my multimeter, and I've got my alligator clip on the frame of the positive side. So all I'm going to do is sneak in through the side here and touch those diodes. Can you see those diodes there? That little fella there, and there's a lead coming off it, and I'm just going to sneak through the side. Let's have a look at what we're reading. Oh, that doesn't look healthy. That shouldn't be like that. That's a dead short. 0, 0, not healthy. Let's try the next one. 0, 0, not healthy. Next one. 0, 0. Oh, where's the fourth one? It's in there somewhere. Not that we really need to test it. And what do we got there? We've got 0, 0. But what about the negative side? Is that okay? Let's go onto the frame of the negative side. There we go. We've clipped onto that with my black lead in this particular case. We'll double check it in. There we go. And I'm going to test it with my red lead here. So this is what it should read, in fact. Okay. No reading. What? Is there a poor connection there? No, that's how a diode works. So I should be able to go through all of those diodes and check them, and I should have no reading whatsoever. For starters, bear with. And then we go to that one on the inside. There we go, no problems. Now we change our leads. This is where the magic happens. Okay, so I'm going from my positive onto my, my negative onto my positive, and keep in mind that the alligator clip is still on the frame. We should get about 0.4, 0.5 of a volt. And look at that, we've got 0.48 of a volt on every single one of them. All right, so I'm happy that we've found the fault. Erica was able to find that fault there and diagnose it. And what we've done in the meantime is build another alternator out of bits and pieces that we had here at the college. So because we had a good rotor, as well as a stator, and all it was the rectifier pack that was faulty, we've been able to make another alternator work. And of course we've got a new regulator on the back, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got it sorted. And of course that all-important washer that goes on here to stop that shorting out once again. So let's pop this onto the vehicle and see if we've solved that issue. Okay, the alternator's back on the vehicle, all systems are go. Question is, have we got rid of that battery light? Let's start it up and find out. This poor old thing gets used and abused, but hey, it's good for the apprentices to learn on. Let's crank it over, see what we get. And where's our battery light gone? Well, excellent. So the battery light's out, but let's just do some quick testing at the battery to make sure that we have the correct output. Okay, our voltage reading is, what have we got there? 14.23, very, very nice. Let's put on some headlights and see if we get the similar sort of reading. That would indicate that our regulator's working properly. Headlights are on, 14.2, and our battery light is still out. Excellent, good news indeed. Okay, problem solved. So what have we learnt with this little exercise, this case study here with this VT Commodore? Firstly, take photos before you disassemble something. You're bound to get it wrong. I do. That's why I take heaps and heaps of photos. It's easy to get it wrong, as in this particular case. One little washer caused so much damage. But fortunately, we were able to diagnose the problem, carry out a repair, and get the old beast up and running again. I hope you got something from the video today, guys, and if you did and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and feel free to comment down below. Don't forget about that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future videos, do you? Of course not. Until next time, guys, this is Miracle Max signing off. I will catch you later.